Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Mooney and I'm a criminal justice graduate student at Western Oregon University. This is a presentation based on my capstone entitled Availability of Sexuality Education Materials for Incarcerated Adults, Providing Recommendations for Comprehensive Education. Sexual literacy is the understanding of sexuality in all areas, from sexual health to anatomy. Adults in custody have historically been shown to have low rates of sexual literacy and an abundance of unhealthy sexual habits. Despite this, there is no targeted curriculum to improve the sexual literacy rates or sexual practices of AICs in the U.S. According to the CDC, incarcerated individuals under 35 have higher rates of chlamydia and gonorrhea than their unincarcerated counterparts. Further, these individuals are more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors such as condomless sex, having multiple partners, substance abuse, and engagement in commercial or survival sex, resulting in high prevalence of HIV, STIs, and viral hepatitis. The Guttmacher Institute discussed the results of this population engaging in sexual activity after release by summarizing a study that sampled 112 random individuals from Brooklyn, New York, and extended to their combined 353 sexual partners. The study showed that 55% of individuals had intercourse with a previously incarcerated partner within 3 months of the test date, resulting in 56% having STDs, breaking down to 50% herpes, 11% HIV, 6% chlamydia, 3% syphilis, and 1% gonorrhea. Social bond theory argues that strong social bonds, especially romantic relationships, act as a deterrent to criminal behavior and are a leading factor in individuals not reoffending post-release, as well as enabling them to attain meaningful employment, which also lowers recidivism. Sexual education teaches individuals how to build healthy relationships, critical thinking skills, allyship with marginalized communities, and self-appreciation, all skills the AICs may be lacking. The current education tends to come from peers and street-based outreach. The knowledge shared amongst prisoners is often shaped by the carceral institution, which is rarely applicable in the real world. Life course theory argues that as one's life progresses through time, stages, and milestones, individuals participating in illegal activity typically move away from criminal behavior and eventually desist completely. Marriage is one of the most critical milestones studied in life course theory, as it is not only creating strong intimate partnerships, but also replaces the deviant relationships in one's life. A study was conducted on 652 AICs and found that those in a marriage or strong intimate relationship were half as likely to engage in criminal behavior 8 months after release compared to their unmarried counterparts. Control theory argues that strong social ties to one's family reduce criminal activity by highlighting the consequences of the deviant behavior. Marriage is important for successful social integration, and having a spouse uninvolved in criminal behavior significantly reduces criminal behavior. All of these theories are essentially saying the same thing. The existence of a strong, healthy, intimate relationship is the single most important factor in preventing recidivism and facilitating a successful re-entry. A comprehensive sexuality education is aimed at providing individuals the skills needed to build these relationships that are so essential to success post-release. Unlike most criminological theories, social bond theory, control theory, and life course theory do not aim to explain criminally deviant behavior. Rather, they work to identify key interventions at reducing crime. As research in this field has grown, trends show that involvement in strong and intimate interpersonal relationships is one key to reducing recidivism. The mere presence of a romantic relationship is not enough to have a deterrent effect. Results show that those in strong romantic relationships offend significantly less than those in weak relationships. These strong bonds may be tested by incarceration, and changes in the bond may increase rates of recidivism. DeClaire created a list of 4 criteria used to measure the strength of a couple's relationship: having a special connection, challenges and threats, reciprocal behaviors, and maintaining a belief in the future. These factors mirror the conclusions mentioned in these theories, reiterating the importance of a strong, enduring relationship. When a couple meets the criteria, the chances of recidivism are reduced. Wallace and colleagues also focused on this area and concluded that the quality of the relationship, not the specific label, is what indicated the lowest likelihood of reincarceration. In the absence of a traditional relationship like marriage, many individuals may engage in hookup culture by participating in one or more tenuous bonds. These relationships are still shown to have a significant impact on recidivism, positive or negative depending on the nature of the hookup. Leverance argued for the expansion in vocabulary when discussing these hookups, as many women avoid recurring romantic relationships, and when they do engage, it is often with recovering addicts or other ex-offenders. The marriage effect is the term used to describe this association between strong interpersonal relationships and the decrease in criminal behavior. The role marriage or other intimate relationships plays on lowering the recidivism rate has long been accepted in criminological theory. To that end, all efforts should be made to identify at-risk individuals and efforts of directing them to resources that can assist them in lowering their odds of reoffending. This notion is what inspired this study. A well-developed sexuality education program could provide the means by which an individual could find the skills needed to engage in a strong, intimate relationship, and thereby increasing their chances of successful reentry. Sexuality education programs cover more than the biological aspects of intercourse. They also cover sexual diversity, intimate partner violence prevention, development of healthy relationships, and improved social and emotional learning, all skills important to developing strong interpersonal relationships. A CSE also has a strong advocacy for healthy sexual practices, such as the usage of contraception and consent. The integration of critical pedagogy and health-focused education allows for improved physical, social, emotional, intellectual, sexual, and spiritual health. This philosophy is an approach to education that focuses on viewing concepts holistically through a lens of questioning power structures and dominant beliefs by teaching critical thinking skills and focusing on creating a culture of social justice. Sanjakar and colleagues argued the importance of this philosophy in the crafting of a CSE, with particular attention being paid to diversity, challenging the standard curriculum, and creating an individualized education tailored to participants. AICs have unique experiences that need to be considered when addressing a topic as potentially triggering a sexuality education. By utilizing this philosophy to shape the curriculum, a more direct program was developed. An often overlooked benefit of a CSE program is the heavy focus on consent can lower rates of sexual violence. CSEs and the NSES do meet criteria of being effective preventative programs that could mitigate the risk factors most associated with sexual violence, though there have yet to be tests showing this effect in practice. Although verbal confirmation should always be obtained, often consent is inferred from various environmental, personal, and social cues, which are difficult to quantify. Given this implicit nature, it is important to teach individuals how to identify a consensual situation, as well as developing healthy, positive attitudes towards consent. The goal of a CSE is to empower marginalized groups to view themselves as equal members in a relationship, able to prioritize both personal and partner pleasure and safety. The approach to adult education is slightly different from traditional education targeted at youths, in that it is often taught through a coaching framework, meaning that the focus is on inclusive education that prioritizes communication, pleasure, and positivity. These classes often have the effect of improving mutual sexual satisfaction, resulting in increased marital satisfaction, which leads to longer enduring relationships. The sexual literacy of incarcerated young males is the lowest in the country. They often engage in unhealthy sexual practices such as not using condoms or engaging in casual sex with multiple partners, resulting in higher rates of HIV, making them the ideal population to receive a CSE program. Often educational opportunities are interrupted by the justice system, and education is gleaned from peers. This education is often incomplete and may be inaccurate. Sweden has been making strides in this field in recent years. In 2021, Larsdotter and colleagues published the results of the partnership between the Swedish Association for Sexuality Education and the Swedish Prison and Probation Services. The partnership focused on the development and teaching of a CSE to incarcerated young men, with the results showing the partnership to not only be beneficial to the students, but also feasible on a wider scale. In the UK, there have been large initiatives to combat this peer education by providing access to contraception inside the carceral environment. Studies found that both staff and prisoners were in favor of condom distribution as a means of harm reduction to this behavior already occurring within the institution. Sexual relations in prisons have been a hotly debated topic. These interactions can fall into one of two categories: consensual inmate homosexual behavior or coerced inmate sexual activity. Despite the Prison Rape Elimination Act, or PREA, both categories of behavior are rampant in prisons. This approach to inmate sexuality has created a hotspot for HIV infections, creating a unique opportunity to test people and provide education on how to prevent getting infected or stopping the spread. By providing AICs with condoms, carceral institutions were able to reduce syphilis by 99%, gonorrhea by 98%, Hep B by 71%, chlamydia by 27%, and HIV by 50%. This behavior is mirrored in female prisons, with 61% engaging in high-risk HIV behavior. A CSE program is often mutually beneficial for the community and the detention facility by improving sexual literacy of the high-risk youth population. A pilot program in Florida tested this relationship and found a beneficial system of testing youth in the justice system for STDs or Is, and then provided the education from the public health system upon release and found an effective way to lower the rate. Similarly, a UK initiative for youth titled If I Were Jack focused on responding to scenarios Jack encounters in his romantic and sexual development, ranging from contraception to impregnating his partner. The program showed significant success in helping the youth understand the impact of their behavior as well as improving relationships with peers and staff. The aim of this study is to determine what resources are available in terms of sexual education for incarcerated adults and what is needed to provide a comprehensive sexual education prior to release. Based on the results of this investigation, a curriculum has been developed to address these concerns. This study is focused on young male AICs getting ready for re-entry in the state of Oregon, but could be generalized to most AICs. The population of focus is those who are preparing for release as part of an exit course, and young incarcerated males who have the lowest sexual literacy rating. The curriculum is built by taking the National Sexuality Education Standards, as well as the Oregon Department of Education standards to identify the learning goals for each section of the curriculum. While both curriculums were designed for K-12 education, they were used due to the lack of a similar standard in adult sexuality education. Articles and activities related to AIC's trauma, incarceration, STD/Is, and sexual culture were then used to provide a targeted curriculum. This curriculum was supplemented by open educational resources used to create a CSE. The Sex Ed Open Learnings, or the SOL files, were created by educators in Oregon to facilitate equal opportunity accessibility of this critically important health information. These resources were combined with the found research articles to create a unique curriculum. This method was used to ensure the information contained in the curriculum met the standards for a CSE, as well as providing information that was directly applicable to AICs. The information contained within the curriculum was used to create a comprehensive test bank that can be used to assess focus areas and comprehension. The activities were included to broaden understanding, as well as provide practice and communication of vulnerability. The curriculum is designed in a way that it can be taught in a class or worked through on a personal basis in a self-guided exploration. Each section of the CSE was designed by first using the NSES and the ODE Sexuality Education Standards to determine the learning goals of the unit. SOL files were then used to create a PowerPoint of medically accurate information addressing each learning goal. Once the PowerPoint was established, an extensive search was conducted using medical databases and Google Scholar to provide the backbone of the program. The bulk of the information that would be provided by the educator as they worked through the PowerPoint slides, which was for the most part taken directly from each cited source. At the conclusion of each section's medical information, another search was conducted to determine how the topic could be explicitly applied to AICs, which was then incorporated into the corresponding places of the program. Penultimately, the SOL files were searched for relevant activities and discussion questions to practice a practical application of the knowledge and deepen understanding. Lastly, the material was used to generate test questions that were answered either by content in the program or supplemental PowerPoint slides. A set of prompts concluded each unit designed to be used as guiding notes to the critical information that could be used to answer the test bank questions. The materials needed to complete or teach this program are minimal. The PowerPoint slides are in PDF format to be printed and handed out to participants. There are a couple YouTube videos linked in the slides that would be beneficial to play. However, given the minimal technological access in carceral institutions, all the information in the videos is included in the program. Each participant should be provided with access to a journal or notebook to take notes and complete the included activities. At the start of each unit, the participants should be provided the guiding notes, either as a printed handout or as prompts. Educators should then progress through the material included in the program as designed. This program is designed in 5 sections, but each section can be completed individually or worked through on an independent basis. This section is organized in a way that from this page at the start of the curriculum can be printed off and used to teach the CSE. It includes the teaching materials, guided notes, and test bank. The teaching materials are laid out in a script-like format, allowing the participant to read through the material or the instructor to directly read the content as they click through the slides. The CSE begins with an outline of guiding principles, theoretical framework, defining a CSE, and a comparison of state and national standards. Following is the units of the CSE, which are broken down into vocabulary, consent and health relationships, gender identity, sexual orientation, sexual health, intimate partner violence, modern dating, and communication. Each unit is designed to include a variation of teaching materials, test bank, activities, critical thinking questions targeted at preparing the AICs for healthy and intimate relationships post-release. The sources linked within the CSE were left in hyperlink format, allowing the CSE to be separated from the content within the wider paper and still be utilized to its full extent. The vocabulary unit should focus on setting the stage for an unbiased and medically accurate presentation. While many slang terms exist for the various body parts, they are often associated with harmful gender stereotypes. Consent and healthy relationships should focus on building the foundation for what a healthy or unhealthy relationship looks like. This unit includes empowering the participant to identify and establish boundaries. AICs lack autonomy. However, in a relationship, each member should be empowered to create and enforce personal boundaries. AICs are prone to feelings of dependence and hopelessness after experiencing incarceration, which removes all autonomy by controlling jobs, activities, diets, and their sleep schedule. Individuals can regain their independence as well as confidently enter a relationship once they know how to establish and enforce boundaries. Learning how to foster a culture of acceptance and empathy is the focus of the Sexual Identity and Orientation unit, as well as offering the chance for self-discovery. This unit focuses on learning to incorporate inclusive language into daily use, as well as offering skills training on how to handle ideologies that one may not agree with. Identity maintenance focuses on the strength of identity and holding on to identity through the experience of incarceration. By going through a CSE, AICs will be able to identify identities that resonate, helping them shape themselves into the people they wish to be once released. Most U.S. institutions do not provide access to contraception. There are only 5 cities and 2 states that have programs in place to provide condom access. By providing AICs with the knowledge of how effective condoms can be in preventing STDs and Is, there may be internal movements to organize similar programs in conjunction with the adoption of a CSE program. The last group of topics covered by a CSE is IPV, modern dating, and communication. While these may initially seem like separate topics, this is the section that is designed to set the individual up for success. By raising awareness to the risks of IPV and providing constructive methods of communication, it is hoped that those who participate in this program will have lower risks of engaging in IPV. An introduction to modern dating, specifically online dating, can ease the transition into the dating culture of the outside world. The final section focuses on several real-life scenarios which the individuals are likely to encounter upon release. By having practiced these valuable conversations, they can be better prepared to navigate the topics, as well as relying on the knowledge gleaned from the course to provide informed consent. In summary, a comprehensive sexuality education is designed to cover a variety of topics in a way that leads to increased sexual literacy and applicable skills in developing healthy, intimate relationships. While other countries have been exploring the introduction of sexuality education in some form, there is no current initiatives being pushed by the U.S. The U.S. culture of mass incarceration has created a hotspot for STDs. By creating a CSE intervention, it is hoped that STD/I rates will decrease, instances of sexual assault will decrease, and more AICs will feel prepared to enter and build a healthy, intimate relationship upon release. This paper aimed to determine what sexuality education resources were available for AICs. The results were disappointing and very minimal. Hence, efforts were made to create and design a CSE targeted at young incarcerated men readying for release as part of an exit curriculum. The goal of providing AICs the specialized sexuality education is that they will be more prepared to enter a strong, healthy, and intimate relationship upon release. The marriage effect explains the phenomenon of strong, enduring relationships centered around an intimate connection as one of the strongest deterrents of recidivism. Within 3 years of release, nearly 70% of released individuals are rearrested for new criminal charges. By setting these individuals up for success in relationships, the hope is that recidivism rates will lower as individuals are more focused on their relationships and building a family than returning to criminal behavior. Another goal is addressing the sexual literacy rate among young incarcerated men, which will aid them in practicing safe sexual behavior upon release. Another potential goal of the CSE is in policy implications, as demonstrated by many foreign countries earlier in this presentation. Providing AICs with contraception to prevent the spread of STDs/Is is relatively common practice. However, due to the PREA framework in the U.S., there has been very minimal movement on domestic institutions modeling these policies. The hope is that by demonstrating the effectiveness of such movements in other nations, that the U.S. will follow. While PREA protects AICs from sexual violence, it also creates a blind spot in the reality that sexual encounters are occurring in the carceral environment, and providing contraception will address the spread of STDs/Is without necessarily encouraging the behavior. The CSE aims to address the gaps in the U.S. educational system that is interrupted by the criminal justice system by addressing the policies and attitudes of the U.S.'s use of mass incarceration and the negative effect on healthy relationships. The hope is that the changes can be made to allow for safer environments, lower rates of recidivism, lower rates of STD/Is, and higher rates of strong, healthy relationships, which allow AICs to thrive as returning citizens. This program works to fill a gap in AIC knowledge that could help individuals successfully reintegrate within society, as well as protect themselves inside. There is much to be studied in this area, and the test bank needs to be utilized in a pre-post-test fashion to analyze the effectiveness of the CSE. Another area of focus for the future would be ensuring each element of the CSE is needed. To add to the necessity of each element, it should also be frequently updated as there are scientific innovations. For example, male birth control is currently being studied that neutralizes sperm cells, which is in human trials but not yet approved to the public. This would be a needed addition to the curriculum. One large area for potential research is the effectiveness of CSEs in being effective preventative tools in sexual assaults. Per Schneider and Hirsch, CSEs and the National Sexuality Education Standards meet the qualifications of being effective preventative tools, and Australia is already changing their policies to reflect the implication of such programs. Despite this, there has yet to be research showing this effect in empirical data and needs to be explored further. Another field of potential exploration is how people of differing race, sexual, and gender orientations are impacted by exposure to a CSE. One of the biggest limitations was lack of research relating to AICs for each portion of the CSE. More research in this area is needed to create the best CSE for AICs that is unique to them. However, the creation of this program is a large step in the right direction to helping AICs successfully reintegrate within society by providing the knowledge and skills to build healthy, intimate relationships. By creating a CSE for AICs, the hope is that this program can be implemented within the carceral institution to increase the sexual literacy of AICs on a wide scale. However, there are several limitations to this plan. If the CSE is to be taught in a class setting and not worked through independently, trained instructors would need to be identified. These instructors would need DOC approval to first enter the institution and secondary approval to approve the curriculum. Another limitation would be access to materials. This program is designed in a way that it can be printed out and worked through, or it can be accompanied by a slideshow that includes videos and images. Most sexuality education programs are accompanied by props, such as condoms or IUDs, for practical application, so that the participants can have a visual of the material. Another large limitation to implementation would be finding students. Educational opportunities are scarce in carceral settings, and there may be competition to access the course, making the admissions criteria something to consider. For example, only individuals about to be released and/or capping the age of potential students. The final limitation to be addressed is the PREA framework. Several sections of the CSE and within the literature review discuss sexual activity that occurs within the carceral institution, which under PREA is not acknowledged to be happening. This was mitigated by targeting the population readying for release, as it is heavily aimed at scenarios that will be encountered in life outside of prison, rather than the scenarios inside. As such, both the participation pool and content of the CSE was limited and may potentially be addressed in future iterations of the program. Any questions, comments, requests regarding this presentation or the capstone can be sent to the email listed. Thank you.